It's time for AgriChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AgriChat. This is episode 238. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Kodra.
Oh man, so I've been playing so much Fortuna. I totally get last 2 weeks ago's intro. Whew.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hey.
So I kind of wanted to revisit one of the big topics from last week, which was Anthem and the demo, because so we dunked on the demo a little bit because it was really hard to stay connected and play anything. And
yeah,
wow, what a difference a week makes.
Yes.
Like this weekend has been just seamless. Like I got disconnected exactly once.
I have yet to be disconnected. I've run into other bugs, but they're not, unlike previously, the bugs aren't interfering with my ability to play and enjoy the game. They're just like nuisances.
Right. I have so much more faith about what launch is going to be like.
I mean, not to like harp on it, but I commented last week that I was really unconcerned about them fixing a lot of the connectivity problems, and I feel vindicated in that one because they really just did. They're fixed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they've been, like we said last week, they've been super responsive about all of this.
Yeah, the like early week, hey, here's all the things we ran into in the beta that we consider like showstopper problems and that we're like actively working to fix. Like that's a great message.
Well, and like, you know, towards the end of the week they were like, yeah, I guess we realized that flight and swimming with a mouse is kind of garbage. We're working on fixing that. It won't be in this weekend's, you know, build, but it'll be in before launch.
Which is great.
Oh, so they're reworking flight?
Yep.
Supposedly, yes.
Flight and swimming controls on mouse and keyboard. They're like straight up, we want to rework these.
Okay, interesting.
It'll be in for launch or at least they say they will.
I hope that's in for launch as in the 15th and not in for launch as in the 22nd, but whatever.
They have dates saying which things are fixed for the 15th. Which things are fixed for the 15th and which are fixed for the 22nd.
Okay. Yeah, because like I have figured out how to make the mouse work for me, and the answer is turn off all of the mouse sliders for flight and swimming. Like turn them all down to 0.
Oh, the sensitivities, you mean?
Yes. Turn them all to 0.
Yeah.
And it was a much better experience, but it still wasn't great. Like, flight is perfectly fine in that manner. Swimming still doesn't feel great.
Did they mention anything about controller shooting? Or is this just me being weird?
I've not played with a controller, so what's the deal with shooting?
I guess I feel like, compared to a lot of other games, I feel like it doesn't have enough auto-aim for a controller-based solution. I feel like it has too much auto-aim for a keyboard. Like, I feel like the auto-aim amount they have is the same for both keyboard and mouse and for controller, whereas most other games tend to have different values for those.
I don't know. Maybe I need to hook up an Xbox controller and try it with a controller to see how that feels.
I don't play a lot of shooters with a controller, so it's hard for me to say.
I mean, the one thing I really have to compare it to is like Destiny 1, which I played tons of with a controller, and honestly like the first month or two of Destiny 2. So the other thing that like shocks me is that I like the Storm a lot. Not enough to like main it, but definitely better than the Colossus.
So what's your favorite so far?
So far my favorite is Ranger still, like the default. It's the most shooty of the classes.
Interesting.
It definitely feels like you're playing a Destiny character on the Ranger.
That's probably why I'm like, I feel like the Ranger is super generic and kind of uninspired.
Yeah,
like
I like the kit for it. Like it's basically a shooter kit. It's couple weapons, you've got grenades, you've got some other trick, and yeah, no, it's really straightforward. It drops rally barricades. It's the Destiny Titan.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. It's very much like, it's clearly, we know our game is very much like Destiny. If you want a very familiar to Destiny experience, the Ranger is your frame. My enjoyment of the game skyrocketed the moment I tried frames that weren't that one, because I don't love Destiny as much as Belle does.
I was gonna say I actually really like Destiny, but the class design is not why I like Destiny.
Yeah, the class design is definitely a big selling point for this one for me, and they all feel very different.
I mean, I am coming off of playing quite a bit of Warframe right now, and I had forgotten how different all of those frames feel.
Yeah. I feel like Anthem's frames feel about as different between them as Warframes do, sometimes more.
I feel like more in most cases.
Yeah.
Because in Warframe, everybody's got the same movement, more or less.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I don't suppose so. It's definitely like, is there a ninja frame yet? And
Yes.
Does it
Absolutely
feel like
Interceptor.
Does it feel like playing a Warframe?
No,
No.
but it has a lot of movement.
No, it feels like playing, I don't even know.
It feels like playing Genji.
It feels like playing, the closest thing that I can think of is it feels like playing Zero from Borderlands.
Ooh, I love playing Zero.
But like you can fly.
Yeah, sure.
It's the only class with no cooldown on its melee. It's regen shields faster if it's moving or something like that.
Oh man, you are selling me.
Yeah, no, the Interceptor is your jam. It's just your jam from start to finish. Like I was playing Interceptor earlier and I was like, okay, I like this. This is fun. I don't like this as much as Kodra is going to.
I'm gonna have to play to unlock this to see how it feels, because
I think you just have to play through one mission right
Okay.
now to unlock stuff.
because I'll be honest, the Ranger not really my jam. Kind of like was trying to force myself, was fighting with bugs. I haven't played it in the new this weekend yet. I'm trying to load it up right now, but
Yeah.
one of the things I find with a lot of ninja character designs is they actually, and for very reasonable reasons, they over-index on stealth.
No,
And
there's
this
no
is not a
stealth
This
stealth
game
here.
does not
class.
have stealth.
So I'm super excited because the other way you do ninjas and make them super mobile and melee murder machines, and that is absolutely what I want to be doing in this game.
I mean,
That's
it's,
what you're gonna
it's
be
a
doing in
WoW
this game.
rogue.
Okay.
It's a WoW rogue if you added more mobility and took out stealth.
Okay. Yeah. I'm hearing this. I'm picking
Yeah,
up what
like-
you're putting down.
See, what's cool about this though is like, based on the proclivities, we have a very balanced party right now.
I was honestly shocked at how much I liked the Colossus. Like me playing, I mean, I realize that I have my history of playing tanks is not really well known here, but like I love the just tremendous trompiness of this thing.
So it's interesting because this also feels like a game that's going to do that thing that I know frustrates you, where because it's a multiplayer shoot 'em up type thing, everyone else is going to be causing all sorts of chaos, and you tend to like to sit back and like pick your battles wisely.
So
Are
the
you-
storm.
The storm does this.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the storm.
Yeah, you're correct. And they designed a class for me.
Okay.
What the
The
storm?
storm has a better shield when it is hovering and has basically no health. So you need the shield. You need to be hovering. You should be hovering over everything.
Yeah, my base movement capacity is the thing that gives me my defenses and gives me that like I have Overwatch over the board, as it were, and I also have giant, hilariously awesome explosion abilities.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I
Like-
mean, it's kind of this battle tactician role where the storm has a lot of leverage to drastically affect a lot of the board.
Yeah, it's a very control oriented, and it's a very take a high vantage point and pay attention to the battle. And like, I think it would probably be a pretty good shot caller just because it's got a lot of visibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I shoot things with lightning.
Neat.
Like, I'm carrying a sniper rifle because I'm me, but like I don't use it a whole ton. And when I do use it, I'm filling, like, it isn't a primary, because it's not a primary weapon for me. It isn't a frustrating experience when there's a million explosions going on for me to try to get headshots. It's more, hey, here's a part of the battlefield that nobody is paying attention to. And these battlefields are very nonlinear. So I can use the sniper rifle to pick off targets that nobody else is paying attention to.
They seem to do a really good job of attacking you from a bunch of different fronts at once.
Yeah.
To where you need someone who's playing the long game, and you need someone who's playing close up, and you need somebody who's playing mid-range to, like, deal with the threats that are coming at you in different ways. They're not just all rushing down a corridor.
Yeah, it doesn't have the thing that I remember being frustrated at in Borderlands, where you kind of walk into a door, you walk into a room, and all of the enemies are in kind of a frontal cone for you, which is that thing where, like, okay, well, everybody moves forward, engages the enemy, and now the direction that I want to shoot at enemies in is covered in particles.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, you move into a 3D space, and enemies come at you from every angle. And the enemies themselves move around a lot too. So like the angles in which you're fighting are going to also change pretty frequently.
I mean, and the other thing that it does a lot of is, like, there's a lot of pieces on the board that do different things, and each one of them is potentially dangerous in a certain scenario. So, like, there may be a sniper that is really brutal, or there may be a tanky guy running around on the ground, and there may be, like, a light air cavalry type thing running around also wreaking havoc, and you kind of have to pay attention to all of them,
or at least have somebody in your party who's paying attention to all of them. It's very hard to, as a single player, pay attention to all of the possible angles you're being attacked by, but like there's a lot of covering each other's backs.
Oh, it's not in this version of the game, but I did see that they announced my one of my big gripes from the last play session. Soon you will be able to run in the base area.
Yes. They were like, oh, this base sucks way worse than we were hoping.
So that's exciting.
Also, I thought the reasoning they gave for why you couldn't run during the test was kind of funny. Like, it's got texture streaming issues, so we didn't let you run.
It's got a what streaming issue?
Texture streaming issues. Basically, they don't want to load the whole thing at once. They want to load it in chunks.
Yep.
I'm
familiar with that problem. I can neither confirm nor deny using carefully placed ice locations to slow people's movement down. Certainly would never have done that.
Just roll in some fog. Problem solved.
Fog is magical.
Yeah, I definitely plan on playing some more tomorrow. I'm ultimately trying to get a decent, like, item in the slots of the different types so I can play with different combos. Because combos are definitely a thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of... That's the other thing that I really like is you've got your, like, abilities on cooldowns thing going on, but you can also swap those out, and it lets you get really specific about what you want your build to do.
Well, and the thing about that that's interesting is, like, okay, so Destiny, for example, different grenades feel different, but they're still grenades. Whereas this is, like, very class-changing type abilities that you're doing. The only negative with that is, like, it absolutely feels like there's scenarios where you built your character the wrong way. Like, if you don't have items that have synergy, then it's going to feel weird. Like, I somehow ended up going into a strike with 2 things that put on status effects, but nothing that detonated them.
I mean, I wasn't super sad about this choice of yours.
Yeah, I was just letting you explode everything.
Yeah.
But by that, when you say strike, you mean like a mission? Or is
I
there
don't know
Officially,
what
it's called a
strike.
stronghold.
There you go. It's a Destiny strike.
It's a Destiny strike.
How is how is a strike different than all of the other missions we're doing?
Way harder.
Takes place in a set location and has like it's not that different really.
It was just a lot more stuff attacking us, and you're swimming in loot.
Too.
Yeah, better loot. It had a big boss. It had like a big, serious boss at the end, like bigger and more serious than any of the bosses I'd seen so far.
Like you've got a health bar at the
Multi-stage.
top of the screen.
Had some puzzle-ish
Ooh.
things.
Puzzle adjacent at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because I don't think those things that were the puzzle elements spawn in the same place all the time.
Would make sense.
Yeah, I mean it had gameplay that wasn't fighting or moving from point A to point B.
I mean, I feel like most strikes don't actually fit that description.
No, they don't.
Like that sounds more like a raid from Destiny.
I
might be
mean,
accurate.
like a small low-key raid.
Yeah. Mini raid is probably a good descriptor of it. I don't know, it was a nice like 20-30 minute chunk of gameplay.
That was non-trivial.
That was non-trivial.
Like, I thought we were going to fail at one point, but Ash saved the day.
Yeah, but Ash was a hero. It was pretty amazing.
I don't know what a fail condition would have looked like.
I'm not sure. One of the things that Des mentioned is that no matter what difficulty you set it on, the checkpoints remain in the same place. So there's nothing like where you all die, you get kicked out.
Well, and that was easy.
Yes, that was on easy. I know the demo at least has normal and hard, whatever the step is past normal.
Anyway, we talked at length about Arena. Mostly, I just felt it was fair that we briefly talked about how much more smooth this experience is this week. And if you are listening to this early in the morning and you still have time to check it out, even if you bounced hard last week, try it again without frustrations.
Yeah, the experience of it. It's hard to overstate how much a game's experience improves when you can just play it.
Yeah.
Like when you're not fighting that like I fought it last weekend, and I have a lot of patience for that sort of thing. But
Last week felt like an early alpha. This week feels like an open beta.
yeah,
It is a big difference. So it is a big difference for a single week, which also makes me think that it was probably infrastructure
An
related.
old build?
Is this a newer build?
No, it's.
But
But if they made these
there was
changes
a
to the
patch.
current build, that they could probably, address some of the issues.
I mean, there was a patch between this week and last week, and it was
Yeah.
not huge, but yeah, this was an older build anyway. Anyway, we basically have 2 weeks until launch, so I mean, we're gonna be playing for real. So, but we also have other really important news to talk about. We're
We do?
going to be able to play with a Gunblade class in Final Fantasy
Gunblades.
14.
Gunblades!
And there's gonna be a tank.
Yes.
I mean,
Gunbreaker.
so I did not know this. That's exciting.
Yes.
There
What
is
is it, Gunbreaker?
FanFest Europe started today, basically.
Yes, there have been announcements. There's also a longer trailer has been dropped.
That's,
It's very interesting.
I guess, the aesthetic for Gunblades is. It's not exactly the aesthetic I associate with Final Fantasy XIV, but I guess
Final Fantasy XIV has lots of Gunblades in it right now.
Yeah,
Just
I know.
Players can't use any of them.
Yeah,
True.
they're all owned by Imperials.
That's
this
true.
is this one is weird though, because they definitely I totally get where you're saying about how it's not the usual aesthetic, and the ones that have been in the game so far have been a very different, more FF14 aesthetic.
Is this-
And then these ones are like, hey, did you like Final Fantasy VIII?
8.
We're back, baby.
Are we wearing long coats and going to
Yes.
questionable military
Yes.
academies?
Yes, we
Yes,
are.
we are. As far as I can tell, the default weapon drawn Gunblade stance is you just have it resting on your shoulder.
It's Squall Idol.
The full squall.
The
Full
full
squall.
squall. You're a full squall.
I mean, and
What-
we've got the costume already, so
What
I mean,
a
the-
weird game that is.
The default outfit looks kind of like the machinist stuff that's already in game, except with a longer coat. But
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
the idol appears to just be the full Squall.
Yeah, you're just squalling it up. I'm really hoping, kind of against hope, that the female stance is the full Cypher. Just because that would A, be perfect, and B, that was my favorite stance.
So, as excited as I am about Gunblade, probably the one little nugget that's kind of slipped in the middle of everything is that they're adding in New Game Plus.
What?
Yeah, they mentioned that last time.
Yeah,
That you can like
replay story missions.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's exciting to level.
I'm hoping to level.
I'm hoping to level.
Right?
We'll find out, I
Also-
guess.
Maybe I'll be able to make any sort of sense of the story of Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Because I did not realize that they were good storytellers until way too late, and definitely didn't pay attention to the early stuff.
Right? They buried the lead on that one.
Oh, to be fair, that story has a lot of filler.
Yes, that's also true.
Maybe that was it. I was mostly filler, but there's definitely stuff I missed once it was like, level 35 when you like Minfilia gets captured and it's like, oh, this is telling a story now.
I'm just hoping it's a leveling option because
The game badly needs it.
Deep
It really
Dungeon
does.
is not a great way to level. It's a way to level. It's not a great way to level. And if I could quest my way through this game over and over and over, I would be more
Done.
than happy to repeat these things.
Done. I mean, yes.
Because like we've talked about this before, like the initial experience of playing a Final Fantasy class is amazing. Like the first one that you level each time is so good, and then it's not so good.
Yep.
And you're like, well, I don't have any quests I just have to run dungeon over and over.
Time to
Final
grind
Fates.
my face off. I wanted to grind my face off.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing
I
it
like
right
your
now
face.
as a blue mage, but like I know that's a weird edge case, so
Yeah,
Also,
accepting
Blue
it,
Mage
but-
earns 5 million XP.
yeah. Blue
yeah.
mages just kill random monsters out in the world because that's the best XP. Don't do fates. Doing fates as blue mage is the wrong choice.
yeah, I'm just killing lots of kobolds right now. So many kobolds.
I pick a thing that I know can drop something that I can sell on the market board, and just kill a bunch of those with 1,000 needles. It works well.
That's probably actually a really good option because
Mhm.
I didn't think of that. Also, putting random crap on your retainer sells ridiculously fast. I'm shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Really, sell all the crap.
I don't even know how. Like I don't know.
Is it a crafting material? Do you not need it right now?
Somebody's
Sell
gonna
it.
need it.
Yeah, like every single thing. If it's crafting material, somebody wants to craft with that. If it's a piece of equipment, somebody wants to desynthesize that, or possibly wear it.
Yeah, so it was just so weird. Like I put this just the most random assemblage of crap on my retainers last week. And I logged in midweek this week and it was just all gone. Like I was expected maybe a couple pieces was gone, but no,
Mhm.
every single thing that I put up there was gone.
Yeah, pretty much the only thing that I run into that doesn't sell well is random fish. Like there are some specific fish like that are actually used for crafting that sell well, and then the rest of them no. And I think part of it is because you can't get
Everybody's
anything good
retainer
from
brings them
desynthesizing
random
fish.
fish.
That too, but also fish are the only thing that you like can't get demi materia from desynthesizing.
Oh, God.
You can only get swimsuits. People only need so many swimsuits.
Yeah, I mean, usually one per season.
Details.
I am super excited that I'm excited to have a chance again at maybe there's a tank that I want to play.
Yeah,
Like I don't know.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but I was happy to try Dark Knight. I've been happy to try them so far. None of them have really stuck, but I'll continue to give it a go.
I mean, I also think the Nier Automata Alliance raid sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's
That's just nonsense.
It is, but
I mean,
you
why
know
not?
what? It's
Why
fine.
not? Look, we've talked about collabs and how great they are and how more games should do them. So
So
Here.
what this means is it is now canon that
No, stop.
Soul
Stop.
Calibur and Final Fantasy XIV are in the same universe,
Oh my god.
well, in the same multiverse.
in the same multiverse. Yeah.
Yes.
Want to buy a Mitsurugi crossover?
And they all take
No.
place in a
Want
snow
to
globe
buy
owned
anything
by a small
other than
boy.
a Voldo crossover?
I should finish Nier at some point. I just mean Route A.
yeah, that's probably a good choice.
Oh, also,
Also, I don't-
Final Fantasy 14 related. I've discovered in leveling crafting classes, because I do this thing. If you played the original game back before A Realm Reborn and are interested in wrap-ups to dangling plot threads from back then, apparently they stuck them in the crafting quests.
That sounds both on brand and the kind of griefing that I expect.
Like I'm doing the alchemist class quests, and basically like so Minfilia's mom is involved and somebody else. And I was like, I feel like I should know who this person is, and so I went and looked on the Wikipedia and discovered that basically everything that's happening is a follow-up to some stuff that happened back when they were major NPCs in the original game.
Yep, that's
Because apparently Minfilia's mom was a major NPC in the original game. She didn't wear glasses back then, and she wore really short shorts, which seems strange. Look at her now.
Meaning she wasn't a mom back then, maybe?
No, she was Minfilia's adopted mom back then, because Minfilia was in the game. I don't know.
and apparently will be again? Question mark?
Yes, I mean, Thancred called her Minfilia. She looks a lot younger, and she has glowy eyes. I don't know, but yeah.
I'm sure we'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah. Like, I'm really, really curious from that trailer. Like, it kind of implies maybe there might be a time travel element.
That's
no.
on brand.
Either that, or maybe we might end up going to the Warrior of Darkness's world.
That seems more likely.
Like, either or.
Yeah,
I mean, this isn't Kingdom Hearts, right? They're not just going to spring time travel on me several games in.
Oh,
I mean,
look,
at one point in the trailer, they're basically saying, like, we have to prevent the things that happened from happening, which...
surprise!
Time turners.
Like, which makes me think time... I mean, and it might just be like, okay, this cycle has been going on for forever and ever, and it keeps happening the same way, and we have to make it happen a different way this time. It might
Reavers.
just be that. Because we're in what, the 7th astral era at this point?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe it's just the last 6 astral eras ended badly. Let's make sure this one doesn't.
I mean, that's kind of how it goes, right? You go from an astral era to an umbral era because something happens.
Yep.
People make some bad decisions.
Because the Naru go from light to dark. No, wait, different game.
And that's the other thing. We started the game in the 7th umbral era after the whole calamity. They just decided that, after wrapping up this ultimate thing, we can just declare this the astral era right now. That's fine, right?
Sure. I mean,
It may have been a little premature.
Yeah, maybe. I'm still waiting for us to go to the moon. You know what's happening.
I'm amazed
gotta
that
happen.
hasn't happened yet.
It's got to happen eventually.
Didn't we have a boss fight on the moon?
No, the whole Warriors of Darkness thing, the
were
first
on the
cutscene
moon.
for them was on the moon.
Yeah. So I've been waiting for the big whale ever since.
And somehow that wrapped up without us actually going to the moon, which was surprising to me as well.
I'm wondering when we're gonna finally figure out what Heidelin's deal is, or is
She's
that
the
just gonna
incarnation
be,
of pure light.
Is that going to be maintained a mystery? For like, we are the Warriors of Light. What does that actually mean, though?
I mean, Minfilia coming back like as an actual people implies that maybe we're gonna find some things out.
Maybe.
Because she's literally merged with Heidelin right now, so...
So they've also officially announced Fiera, which they've hinted at length,
I mean,
but
yeah.
they've also still griefed us, and we don't know what the hell male Fiera look like.
They said that there are going to be male Vera because they
I don't know.
initially hinted that there wouldn't, and I thought that would be dumb.
Yeah, I mean, there might just not be any. It's like...
Especially since they
it's
went
like,
through
it's like
a
female
great
dwarves.
deal of trouble to make female, Gote. Or male Gote.
I want so bad that for the Viera to basically be the opposite of the Aura, to where like the males are like tiny,
Teeny
diminutive. Yeah.
I mean, Fran is pretty freaking tall.
Yes, she is. I mean, part of that is the spiked heels, but even so.
Well, sure.
What was Fran's class in that game?
The 12 doesn't have classes.
Yeah, but I
Whatever
thought
you
it
want
had.
it to be.
Okay.
Really, whatever you want it to be.
Starts out with a bow, I think, as I recall.
I don't think she even starts with a bow.
I think I made her like a lancer.
I
sort of
remember her
class.
I
being
definitely
a
made her a
Lancer.
Lancer. It seems like it fits. She doesn't start inclined towards any of that.
Images of her tend to be with a bow, so
I always
So I-
imagined her as a dragoon.
I think
Yeah.
her default is archer.
But I kind of want to play a Vera Gunblade now.
I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of those.
Like if they gave me a tiny bunny person, I would potentially swap Belle.
Yeah, Fran's initial licenses are White Magic, Black Magic, and Bows.
Okay.
So yeah.
I definitely made her a Lancer.
Yeah, me too. Because tall, jump.
That game sadly doesn't have jump, but
I just don't like bows in Final Fantasy games in general.
Well, you're wrong. Actually, no, I don't care for bows in the classic single-player Final Fantasies either. They tend to be kind of garbage.
Bows are great, but yeah, like no, they like always seem to miss at the wrong time.
They're not great, and you have to keep track of
weapon class in
ammunition.
FF5.
It's a pain.
FF5 doesn't even have ammo, and they're still not great weapon class.
Yeah.
I mean, I like them better than staff,
Sure, there are also weapon classes that you aren't intended to hit things with.
but I do anyway because I don't want to have to go back to town while I'm grinding and get magic back.
I mean, you're absolutely intended to hit things with staff. You're supposed to hit your own party members with the staff.
Only for
Makes
playing
them feel
FF2.
I've not really looked into the setting. I know there's a video floated around that came out today, but some kind of a foresty setting. I couldn't figure out where it actually fit into the world in my head. Like, is it part of the Shroud?
I'm trying to think how the world map is laid out. I mean, it could be north of Garabanya if we actually are headed into Garlemald. Like, I don't think there's any of the Shroud left unexplored.
Yeah, like they mentioned 2 areas, but like they're kind of disembodied to me right now. Like they don't really fit anywhere.
Yeah, basically our options for exploration, like by land from where we've been so far, are north from Alamigo or like southwest from Doma.
I do have a brief question about New Game Plus. Basically how that's implemented, because if they like reset your quest progress, that's a long quest chain at this point.
No, they've said that it will not take not affect your current quest progress. It'll basically just be. I'm wondering if it's going to be a lot like Secret World, where you can just
that's what I was thinking
redo things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, like if they make that to where you can get credit on your alt classes, then that will be the happiest moment for me.
Oh yeah, I'll just play through the storyline over and over. Fine with me.
And by the time I finish it once, I'll be ready for it to start again.
I don't know if I'll be, able to get over being mad at Estinian if I play through the Heavensward storyline more than once.
He's the worst. He was the worst.
I beat him up
ARR.
at level 50.
He was the worst at ARR. Like, he never got any better. Like, I feel like they really wanted us to have some affection for him at some point, but no, he was horrible. He was horrible on day one. He never got better.
Wait, who is this?
Estinian.
The Dragoon.
The Dragoon.
No, that guy was a dick.
With the eyes.
He's the worst.
I mean, I was pretty happy when he showed up and wrecked that cannon. That was really helpful.
He's the
Kain you don't care about.
And like Kain,
you
can never get rid of him.
He's like a burning building, terrible in every way. And there might be some incidental unfortunate thing that gets damning paperwork or whatever that gets burned in the building burning down, but you really didn't want that building burning down in the first place.
It's a great inconvenience.
In his trail of annoying destruction, he might occasionally do something that is helpful.
And he keeps pretending like he's still some important Dragoon when I'm the best.
Oh, but he's also the best. You're both the best. Simultaneously.
No, we kicked his ass.
We kicked his ass 20 levels ago.
They should let us rematch him the first second we see him and then promptly beat him again and move on with our lives. I mean, I guess we could spend the rest of the night talking about how bad Estinian is, but
we well tread ground.
It is. He's horrible. Ash, Indies, Switch.
So last week, I was really excited about all the indie games that are coming out for the Switch this following week.
Swindies?
Switch indie games? I said indie games?
No, I'm just saying Swindies. I like the name Swindies.
They went with Nindies.
Oh, a missed opportunity.
Anyway, so yeah, 3 indie games of some note came out last week. I realized I am the only one who thinks one of them is of note, but that doesn't matter because it's probably the best one. Anyway, Tangle Deep came out for the Switch last week. I've mentioned this game a few times. It is a roguelike in every sense of the word that took FF5's class system.
Ooh.
So that's a thing. It's on the Switch now. You should play it.
This is honestly interesting enough that I might give it a shot.
It does control way better than I expected to with the controller. So there is that.
I like these words you're saying.
Dragon Marked for Death came out on the same day, and I have thoughts about that game.
That was the pretty cool looking PAX. I've got a dragon arm and swing around on that game, right? Okay.
So mechanically, that game is pretty fun, and aesthetically, that game is pretty great. And it feels like they didn't realize how balance was supposed to work.
Oh,
it would probably be a very fun multiplayer game, but single player, it's just a slog. Like, I'm really hoping some sort of balance patch comes along where they say, hey, if you're in single player, these things have like a third of their health.
Because it's currently designed for you to fight with 4
2
people.
to 4 players, yes.
Yeah. It's one of those games that in the store is marketed interestingly. And granted,
there is also that.
Granted, part of this is the full game is $50 if you buy the box.
Which isn't even out yet.
But you can buy the game in the store in 2 small installments of $15. So it's actually cheaper in digital format. But
2 installments of $15. And really, if you want to just play as the lady with the awesome dragon arm, all you need to pay is $15.
Yeah, you buy
the story
class
doesn't
packs.
exactly change if you're playing as the other classes at all.
It's so weird. I don't know why that was so weird to me, but I was definitely not expecting that monetization model. Where this
definitely weird. I guess they decided rather than charging $30, they wanted to make their game be at a reasonable price point for digital.
Yeah, I mean,
but it does leave a very weird
impression
impression when they're right next to each other.
Unreal price for an indie game. That's higher than most indie games.
Significantly.
I mean, the only time that you see indie games priced for that is like when one of those companies creates like a super duper special limited edition physical print run.
I mean, everyone got super upset at Jonathan Blow for pricing his game at $40, and I actually that game aesthetically looks very nice. Like this is a retro 2D platformer game.
Yes, a little harder sell.
It's a little harder sell.
But yeah, that came out last week, and then on Friday, a game that I have not picked up, but was very interesting, is Wargroove.
I've been hearing a lot of good things about this game.
Wargroove is the second coming of Advance Wars, basically. Since they haven't made an Advance Wars game in 10 years. No, it's not a rhythm game.
Oh.
It's in a fantasy setting, turn-based tactical game where you're managing an army of sorts. And it's by Chucklefish, which means it has some of the weirdest crossovers ever.
Yup.
Like, one of its factions was the Florin.
Yup. Oh, yes. I love the Florin. Oh, this is getting me, like, if I can play a Florin army and get Florin lore, I'm kind of in.
It also strangely has crossplay against all platforms that it's currently on, which is to say everything but PS4.
I note that PS4 is the missing one there, and that seems notable.
Yeah, well, maybe Sony will get their stuff in order, maybe they won't. But yeah, that looks really cool, and I'm sort of wishing I picked it up instead of Dragon Marked for Death.
Oh, yeah. It is truly a shame, because Dragon Marked for Death looks really cool.
That game is one balance patch away from being good, so I hope it gets it.
This is one of those things where I hear a lot of like internet frustration about day one patches and unfinished games and so on, but I feel like this is the good side of that, where it's like, you know, this game is, like you said, this game is one balance patch away from being good. And like I definitely know some games that just never get to be good because they're on a Super Nintendo cartridge. There's no patch for that.
Yeah, like
I played there was a mecha platformer that I wanted to love called Cybernator back in the day, and it was one balance patch away from being good.
I personally love the fact that like we get patches for stuff long after they release usually.
The other indie game I wanted to mention was SteamWorld Quest. Yeah. So the makers of SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Dig 2 and SteamWorld Heist are making a turn-based RPG with also a card mechanic because I guess Slay the Spire was popular.
I should see if Slay the Spire has like released yet.
I think Slay the Spire has hit 1.0 now.
It has.
There are a lot of people playing Slay the Spire.
It also has support for mods now.
Ooh, interesting.
Whether there are any mods that are actually at all balanced, that's a different question. But it supports them.
That's always a question. Give it some time.
So, while not an indie, something that was announced for the Switch that I'm kind of excited about is Darksiders. And I realize I have Darksiders on a bunch of different platforms, but like I feel like Darksiders would be very playable on a Switch.
I was going to ask how many times you own that.
Look, we're not going to talk about it, but I like Darksiders. Darksiders is one of the best Zelda games.
It's the second best Zelda game not called Zelda. I know Kodra and I disagree on which game comes in front of it.
It's fair. I should give Darksiders another try. I found it a little bit... I don't know. I think I found the mood of it a little bit too G for me.
I mean, like, it's hell on earth. So I played a lot of Doom. What's not to like? But
yeah,
I don't know, I just feel like it's gonna fit the Switch really well. Like, it's a game that would port to it extremely smoothly.
3-generation game.
Yeah, it's still a good game. At least they're getting the.
I didn't say it isn't.
At least they're getting the latest remaster. So
the game I think is ahead of it is Okami, which is a PS2 game.
I get the feeling I probably needed to play Okami on like whatever platform it originally came on. The controls felt clunky to me.
I may own that game too many times.
Yeah.
But I don't own it on PC, I don't think. I've just played it on all of the PlayStation since the PS2.
So while we're on Switch territory, one of the things that's been bumped a bunch is Octopath Traveler, kind of a discussion of thoughts after playing the game.
This one is such a weird one for me, because I remember when we saw that at E3, it was the show darling. Like,
a lot of people liked it.
Yeah, I expected I was gonna like it.
Turns out I did. It just took me a year to actually get around to liking it.
I keep bouncing off of it, and I can't put my finger on why.
I've got a few thoughts there. Well, my first one is the demo had chapter 1 of all characters, and therefore I played chapter 1 of all the characters. This was a mistake.
Because
by the time the game came out, that wasn't fresh anymore. I knew what chapter 1 of all the characters was. I'd been through all of their dungeons. I was sort of bored of their stuff.
Yeah. And I didn't do that. I played one character a bit, was like, this seems pretty cool.
Second thought is how disconnected the stories are.
I think that might be what it is for me. Like, it gives me enough of a story. It gives me enough of some story to be like, hey, I'm kind of interested in what's going on here. And then it's
you have to go bugger off and do other completely unrelated stuff for a little while until you have the level to do the next step of the story.
Yeah, and it's really, really good at me losing the thread of what's going on. Because I started with the dancer, and she had a really cool story that I'm now hazy on the details of because I'm way far away from being able to follow the next step. And then I did some alchemist that I could not care even a little bit about, but whatever, it was another party member. And then,
I like him in general, but his storyline is not good.
Yeah, like, he's a perfectly alright person, but his story is incredibly boring.
The scholar fills the same party role and has a better story.
Yeah, but he wasn't right next to the dancer's start point.
It's true.
And then I just kept going around the circle because the game seemed to want me to do that. And I got the thief guy. And the thief guy also, here's a really interesting story. Like, kind of saw this coming, but still cool. Like, still a neat, like, well executed, kind of neat, interesting thing. But I don't get to follow it. It's going to a different thing. And yeah, I think that you're right that disjointedness is really, it's both jarring and also makes it really easy for me to like do a chunk in a play session and then check out. Because it's such a pretty game. Like, it's got a really clever, cool art style. I'm not like immensely inspired by the combat, but I'm not like, I don't think it's bad. It's just fine.
Combat system is pretty neat, and especially when you start getting subclassing, it expands your options a lot.
Yeah, I never got quite there.
So does it end up feeling a lot like Final Fantasy VI when the paths diverge?
It's like if the entire game were that section, which I have called the worst paced part of FF6.
The only real problem I have with that part of FF6 is there's certain teams that I just don't want to play in that sequence.
So, good news, that's mostly not a problem here.
And there's also the fact that really just can't ignore people if you really don't like them at all.
Yeah.
You probably want to have a party of 4 people. These people should maybe cover different roles. Maybe one of them should be the thief because he's broken.
That thief is super strong. Like, stupidly strong.
I just remember in that sequence, like, I usually did Locke and Celeste first to get it over with, because it was my least favorite sequence.
There are a lot of characters you won't like it. You would not like in this game, Bill.
That's probably true, yes.
Like, I have a harder time thinking of the characters that you would like than the characters that you wouldn't.
Fine with the warrior, probably the huntress if you are okay with the way she speaks. I know that a lot of people don't like that. The thief might be okay. He might bother you. Probably bother you.
Yeah.
Not sure about the cleric or the dancer. You would like the merchant. Probably wouldn't like the scholar.
You're extremely not like a scholar.
He's a finger wiggler who is insufferable. So seems like it's not exactly your thing.
So Tella?
Not really.
Is he insufferable? I feel like I don't remember him being insufferable.
Tella's just sort of annoying because his only thing he cares about, at least at first, is Edward and telling you off for
and
Spoony Bard.
remembering Meteor.
Trying to remember Meteor. I don't know. It is definitely a very weird game, even as far as JRPGs go. I think I've heard someone compare it to the Saga series, which I never played, so I can't say anything about that.
It does feel a lot like it reminds me of Saga Frontier.
Okay, I actually like Saga Frontier.
Like I said, I've never played any of those games, so I can't really say.
I definitely bounced off of Saga Frontier, but that was so long ago that I don't remember why, and it could very reasonably be from completely external things like, whoops, we'll start it again.
I think it was a PS1 era game, right?
Yep. It also may have been in the cycle of JRPGs that I played before it was adequately explained to me why you wouldn't just run from every battle.
Because loot, man, loot.
They're not adequately explained to me.
Really experience.
Yeah, like, I didn't know I didn't know what any of those numbers meant. Didn't seem to. I knew that if I got into a fight, my HP would go down, and I'd probably have to spend MP and maybe items. And if I ran away, I didn't. But those games don't tell you that you should want to level up.
I mean, apparently you can beat Octopath without doing that because somebody beat it during this past GDQ. Beat Tressa's route, which is to say all 4 of her chapters, in 47 minutes.
What?
Pick up a few more characters along the way. The thief, because the thief is broken. Hannet, because Hannet is really good if you're not actually fighting things. If you can just capture things, then, whatever. Doesn't matter your character's low level. And the scholar, because the scholar is, I guess, I don't know why they picked up the scholar.
Probably some very specific one-use reason.
Could be. Yeah, different games are weird about how much leveling up is required or not required. See also FF8.
Yeah, and I always took to the school of grind, like, excessive amounts, and then mobs fall over and you can move on to the next area.
Yeah, nobody at no point did it was like, I played a lot of JRPGs before realizing that when you fought things, you got stronger.
See, I was trying to think, I guess at the point that I started playing them, you also had to fight the things to get money to be able to get anything. So
yeah, gear.
Yeah.
So really, I was grinding the cash to buy sufficient antidotes to make it through the swamp to the elf cave, crap like that.
Yes, that was literally why I did most of my grinding in Final Fantasy 1, was to be able to make it through the marsh dungeon.
Yep.
And have enough antidotes to do that.
Kill ogres until I have enough cash to buy 99 antidotes, then move on.
Yeah, I mean, I was always like strapped for cash too, but
I remember like there's one town in Final Fantasy 1 where they sell 2 kinds of armor, one of which is like on band for what you should be doing, and one of which is like infinitely better and you're gonna come back for it later. I remember farming to buy that while I was first into the town.
Yeah.
It's
not knowing that wasn't a thing I was supposed to do.
Yeah, what just occurred to me is I don't think fighting and killing things in Quest for Glory was ever very necessary, and it didn't really give you a lot when you did it.
Yeah, I mean, because in Quest for Glory, your abilities level up through using them. So like you'd gain maybe some points on whatever you used to kill the thing, and maybe you might get some cash off of it. But yeah, mostly combats in Quest for Glory were
but that's
were
where
not necessary.
That was where my start was, and so I approached JRPGs the same way. And I forget which game I played that actually, I mean, it was like, we're talking a PS2 era game now, where in the tutorial, it's like, oh, hey, by the way, when you fight things, you get XP. That's this bar. When this bar fills up, you get higher level. When you get higher level, all your stats go up and stuff gets easier to fight. And I was like, wait, what? Are all games like this?
Oh man, so I think I just realized one of the key differences. By the time Final Fantasy came out, I had already been playing Dungeons and Dragons for a while.
Yes. Remember that my Dungeons and Dragons experience was not realizing that it was a game that you played for like a decade.
Yeah, there is that too. I had played D&D by the time that Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior came along.
And like I had no experience on PCs at that point. So like for me, Final Fantasy was the closest I had ever seen to Dungeons and Dragons being playable on a console, because the Nintendo ports of the Gold Box games don't really count. They were not very good.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, I would buy Materia in FF7 under the idea that it's like the adventure items, where this is the place where I pick up the item that makes the stuff that I fight later easier. This is the puzzle solution item.
It's just weird how perspective is vastly different depending on what your experiences were ahead of a specific game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Because like I had no questions about what the rhythm of Final Fantasy 1 was going to be, because like I'd had other experiences that were very similar.
No, you know what I just realized it. You know what the game was that made me realize that killing things got you XP, which got you levels, which got you power? EverQuest.
Really?
That was the point at which I realized it. At which point I was like, oh.
Didn't you play FF7 before you played EverQuest?
Yeah. I ran away from like 95% of the fights in FF7.
It's an FF7 that also actually works.
Sephiroth is really hard.
I didn't play 7 until it was the Windows 95, 98 version.
I also played FF8 before I played EverQuest, if memory serves.
Yeah, but that game actively disincentivizes you from leveling.
Yeah,
yes.
And it was fine. I just figured I'd gotten better at games. Because I was able to go through it just fine.
I mean, that game is mostly just about Triple Triad.
And sitting for hours drawing magic off of things.
Yep. Just running back and forth between 2 draw points. Get 99 of whatever.
Yeah, I do remember mentioning my discovery about XP to friends at the time, and they laughed, and that was the point at which I stopped talking about video games with my friends for a while.
I will say one of the things that I missed the most about my early gaming days was the communal problem solving that surrounded a lot of these titles, given that none of us had access to any source of information.
You didn't have that one person who sprung for the strategy guide?
A lot of these games didn't have strategy guides back then.
Yeah, we're talking back in the days when strategy guide meant like calling the 1-900 hint number or paying for the Invisiclues.
Yeah, those hint numbers.
Oh man.
Like the Nintendo hotline was like it. So like, and I remember like we would gather up at lunch or at recess trying to figure out like, oh, okay, well, these are the things I've tried. What have you tried? And they'd rattle off the things they've tried. And then we'd go home the next day and figure out, different strategies. Like, I remember, beating Legend of Zelda was kind of a communal, like, activity because everybody had figured out different pieces of it.
See, by that point, I was a Nintendo Power subscriber, so I had that.
A lot of us weren't.
Like for me, it was like the old Sierra and Infocom adventure games.
Oh yeah,
that had that. Like I just had to bang my head against the puzzle, unless I was lucky enough to know someone else who also was playing that game, and then we could like share notes.
I could ask my dad, and that was about it. My dad would be like, "I don't know anything about this game."
Other than through school, I didn't have access to computer games until high school, and that was on a 386 16. So like my first era of PC games was like Wolfenstein 3D, Civilization, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember being stumped for months by the Bug Bladder Beast of Troll puzzle in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I remember trying to convince my parents to let me call the Infocom helpline to figure out a puzzle in Planetfall, and they wouldn't let me.
$27 a minute.
I remember how proud I was when I finally figured out that puzzle.
I got good at abstracting puzzles into like semi-rhetorical questions for my parents. So they wouldn't realize I was asking them for video game. I wasn't asking them for a game hint. I was asking like, if you had a broken hammer and only had these things, like how would you fix it?
Sadly, as adventure games went on, so that kind of question would be harder and harder to pass off as normal.
It really was.
If you needed to trick somebody into thinking you were the guy on a driver's license, all you had was a packet of syrup.
Yeah, I mean, also there's just the basic premise there. Like, why are you asking me this question?
Speaking of which, everyone should go watch Bandersnatch. Just saying.
I mean, maybe.
I think it was time well spent.
Is that the Choose Your Own Adventure?
Yes.
Black Mirror?
Yes.
Choose Your Own Adventure Black Mirror.
It sounded kind of depressing.
It is kind of depressing, but like it's an experience worth having, I think.
Also, I heard the makers of Choose Your Own Adventure is suing Black Mirror.
And
that's interesting.
I don't know how that's gonna fly, but
like a Colossus.
Surprisingly well.
Not well, but better than you'd think.
Yeah. If you strap a rocket to a stone, it's gonna move. Okay. I don't think we have any other topics that are short enough to fit into this time since we got started a little bit late. But yeah. Any other final thoughts?
Frostcode is coming to the Switch.
I mean, so what will fly now?
They said it would come to the Switch when hedgehogs learn to fly.
Hedgehogs learn to fly, right?
Yes, they have learned.
And so their trailer had hedgehogs with rocket packs on them, or helipacks on them, or something like that.
Can't you play Tales of Vesperia on the Switch now?
You can.
In English?
Yes. I mean, the ability to play it in English on anything other than a 360 is new. But yeah, I will probably rebuy that game.
Goes to show that moving a lot of console units gives pretty strong reason for people to port things to your platform.
Yup.
Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good
night.
See you.